Pelt. I'm Chris Tice, co-founder of Eaglre Enrichment, your leadership solutions company, and we gather together for about a half an hour or so to discuss topics in leadership. Now, remember, whether you've seen one of these, all of these, or this is your first time, leadership does not have to be defined as someone with rank, title, position. It's people who care. It's people who want to make a difference. It's people who are showing others a better way to live their lives. Now, last week was one of many of my favorite topics when I discussed what leaders are. It was passion. Leaders are passionate. And that gets defined one of two ways. You either see their passion in the work that they're doing. You know, if you see a skilled craftsman, you know, building something, you'll see their passion in the work. You'll see the passion in the art, or, you know, a passionate leader in manufacturing who's keeping their employees engaged and working and wanting to do the work. Then there's also the cheerleading style of passion, right? The cheering on your sports team, or the getting your kids going and doing stuff that is extra special for the day, whatever the case may be. Or maybe it's an amusement ride. You know, you see that joy, that's passion. But today we're going to go a little bit different, because sometimes people try and define these two together. And gentlemen, even though I didn't tell you this, because sometimes I like to surprise you, we're going to create a distinction between the two. Passion versus compassionate, because there is a difference, between the two. So Mike, starting with you, thinking generically, you don't have to look up Webster's or the encyclopedia or anything like that. To you, what would be the difference between someone who is passionate versus someone who is having compassion for someone or something?
Well, you can be passionate about something, or maybe for someone, without being compassionate. You know, passion for something is more of your feeling towards it. I'm trying. You got it. You're feeling towards it, how you feel about it, your attitude towards it. And compassion, I would say, is a feeling towards it.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's
interesting. I've never given a whole lot of thought that
most people don't.
Yeah.
Many times I see it get confused when I have these conversations with people. Is what is the difference? You know, you look at the movie, The Passion of the Christ, right? And everybody sees the emotion, but what we may not be feeling, though, is the compassionate love of Christ for us dying on the cross. So my great distinction is passion to me. And Jim, I'm going to ask for your opinion on this statement. Passion to me is what we see. Compassion is what we feel. Now, they both can be expressed through words, but I think it touches between the brain and the heart a little bit differently. The brain being the passion side, the things we see. The heart being the compassion, the things we feel. What are your thoughts on
that? So one of the things I really think about the two words, I think about what we see versus what we feel. If we look at passion, that's just a very strong feeling or emotion. Compassion, on the other hand, you know, and I'm cheating a little bit. There's this thing called Google that I discovered, and basically it's all about, you know, having pity and concern for the suffering or misfortune of others. And so that's kind of the way they define it. So the whole thing between the two, I would say that passion can be visual, but both actually, in my mind, are just feelings. But one is towards a feeling towards some sort of cause or some belief or something, whereas others is compassion is that feeling of pity or remorse and empathy towards, you know, somebody's misfortune. You know, hence the compassion of you know, compassion towards Christ during his suffering, you know, or the compassion of seeing somebody go through something that's been very difficult. Like, you don't have to have compassion when somebody's being blessed, but you do have to have compassion when somebody's suffering from something or feeling hurt by something. So I think that both of them are just a strong feeling. And definitely, though, to your point, Chris, tying it together, Passion is something that usually does materialize in something that you can see, but not always. Like I can be passionate about something, but you may not see it until I speak about it. Then now you know I'm passionate about it. So just a little deviation from my point of view.
No, that's perfect. I'm glad you said that, Jim, because that's something else that I was always trying to drive at, in working with leaders, or, if we are going to step into rank, title, position for a little bit, which we are here for a while, is that difference of what is compassion and what is passion. Passion typically tends to speak more towards the joy and the happiness and the excitement and things, and compassion tends to speak more to the what's the struggle, where do we need to get, and it changes our expression. So yes, Jim, you can see both physically. It can change also the words that we use, the way we talk to people. We discussed this quite a while ago when I used the example of people came to the leader and they said, "Hey, Joe over there, he's got his head down, he's just not, he's not his normal happy self, he's just kind of just out of it. Production's going down. We're getting kind of worried about it." No, the ultimate thing is one, that leader stepped up to go talk to him. That's why they went to this leader to go talk to him, because they knew that he would. But ultimately, even though it wasn't, when I had the interview, when we talked, according to them, it wasn't brought up. But it was also the fact that this leader, when things were going great, had a lot of passion for his people. When things weren't going so great, he'd switch gears to compassion. And in the case of this Joe person that he went to talk to, he didn't come up, which I've seen this. Don't do it, folks. Fix it. Be the change. You want to be a leader? Be the change. You want to be a leader? Be the example, the positive one. You could have just gone, "Hey, listen, get your crap together, get to work, smile while you're doing it, and let's get these numbers back up." Could have done that. Some would say that's passion. I call that angry passion, which is wrong. Okay. But instead, he went up with a passionate heart and had compassion for this person to say, "Hey, listen, you don't have to do it right here, right now, but I would like for you to talk to me about what's going on. Maybe I have something I can help you with." He expressed his heart to this guy. And these are the things that this leader had been doing, though. Whether he had rank, title, position, he could have just gone up and said, "Listen, get your crap together or else." I mean, I've seen several case studies and been a part of a few where there were wrongful terminations just because the leader went up and said, "Listen, you either get your crap together or get out." Not digging deeper from a compassion perspective to see what's going on. What can we do to fix it? Why is this happening? How can we get people to drive their passion for what they're doing? I mean, I've seen some of the happiest people doing jobs that most people won't do. And they can be very happy and very passionate about what they're doing. And one of the things that I impress upon people as a leader is like, it's not just about rank, title, position. You don't have to be a manager to go freaking compliment somebody. Go compliment them. Doesn't matter what the job is. They're cleaning the toilets. Hey, great job. Thanks for being willing to do it. It's that simple. So Mike, how I talked a little bit about this last week on my own social media and things, and I was part of something that we're needing to correct, the level of kindness that is coming out of the discussion. Now, this person is very, very, very passionate about what they do, but the compassion they're expressing is not exactly bringing people to the table. So as a true man, and as somebody that is leading men and being a leader and getting guys, especially, ladies, this can be for you too, but this is Mike's specialty, in getting guys to understand what it means to be a true man. What are ways for guys, because we're not very good at spreading compassion, typically, not always. And I hope to see a cultural shift in that. And I see Jim shaking his head yes. So I say there's an agreement across the board here. But Mike, how do we get leaders, both men and women, but because you speak mostly men, to be more compassionate?
Well, full disclosure, I haven't always been very compassionate.
Oh, me either. Come on.
Yeah. Full
There's some people who
disclosure.
may not talk to me. I get it.
Yeah. And, it's a learned thing for me, and I still have to think about it, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think this ability to put yourself in other people's shoes is critically important. And we just live in a time and a place, and I don't mean literally when I say this, figuratively for sure. We kind of shoot first and ask questions later. And so this is a very common practice you see. I personally, I think it started on social media, and then everybody said, screw it. I have no problem jumping into somebody's face and just completely yelling. I had an incident occur the other day where I was in a parking lot and I was backing out, and I could see this truck was coming from behind me, actually quite quickly. And I thought, well, I just need to stop here. Now, my mistake in the situation was I put my hands up. If anybody's watching the video, like, what are you doing? Because he was coming quite fast through a parking lot. The minute I did that, he proceeded to stop and got out of his truck. And, I wasn't, my window was up. It wasn't like, he could have heard me say it. And so there's this underlying anger that I think goes on, and people hit the anger button before they hit the compassion button. Frankly, I was just trying to get out of the guy's way. And I think what I said to myself in the car was, really? And then I just proceeded to move on because obviously he was in a mood. But we have lost the ability in our culture to be as compassionate really as we should and think about, other people's feelings. I mean, the level of just anger and I'm right and you're wrong before I even get a chance to listen to you is, man, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And it's one of the reasons why I'm active on social media, and periodically somebody tells me I'm wrong about something. Most of the time they correct my punctuation and misspelled words, which I greatly appreciate. We really, I think, and I say this to all men when I'm working with them, need to figure out a way for you to just slow down and take that 1 or 2 seconds, hit the pause button before you react. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do, because you're not going to have the ability to act compassionately if you hit the anger button right away. And that's what I so commonly see. People go for the anger button right away.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree. And one of the things I was writing down as you were talking that I realized I didn't have as a leaders are kind. And I'm gonna integrate that a little bit differently, because a lot of times I consider compassionate and kind the same thing.
Sure.
And I think the learned example here that you so thoughtfully put out there, or so well stated, is, if we would learn to just take a break, if even for just a second. Another example, was a part of a group. Guys were getting kind of angry, getting puffed up, it was definitely turning into an alpha male a group level discussion, I think is the way I want to put it, maybe. And it was getting heated. Like, you could legitimately feel the heat in the room going up. And finally, it was actually another leader in the room that just finally stepped up and said, everybody stop now and take a breath. Because not only are all y'all about to pass out because you're angry, because you're not taking a breath in between words, but you're also about to say something you're going to regret. Now, this comes back to, Jim, we'll come to you, this differentiation between passion and compassion, because the passion was there. It's very negative. Yeah, negative force and frequency, to say the least. I mean, I wasn't even in the conversation when I was getting angry. And I didn't even care about the topic, quite honestly. It wasn't for me, but I was there. And finally, someone just stepped up and said, everybody shut up. Take a breath. The case of with the car thing, watch Facebook long enough, you'll pull up something that says road rage top 25. I've seen a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
Ripping mirrors off cars and punching windows and getting into fights in parking lots. It's like, man, take a breath, because I guarantee you it probably had to do with the fact that you changed lanes in front of them. Wham. But again, Jim, we got to get this shift going. And I want you to say something for me here. We're all a part of the Global Cooperative Chamber on Wednesdays. And there's something you say that we stand for. There's 3 things we stand for. Jim, would you mind saying those? Because I have something I want to bring to the table with this. So go ahead and say it for me, please.
Sure. First off, I'm glad, before I make a mention there, I'm glad you brought up this whole thing about passion, compassion. It really makes me think about what makes people tick. Surely in our country, we're just filled with compassion, right? We never just go off the handle. We never just look at only our motives, right? But anyway, I'll let people think about that. But the whole thing is that 3 things we really stand for. The first is really to pay it forward and beyond, and really be able to just give, not necessarily expecting anything in return, but it will come back to you. Pay it forward and beyond. The second is to embrace every race and every face. Notice it's not just accept, learn about, embrace. We could have a whole discussion about what that means. The second is embracing every race and every face, all types of people everywhere, right? We have 2 whites there and 1 Wong. So that's all good.
Yeah.
The third is,
folks.
I had to put that in. The third is really living on purpose and for profit. And I really added the last one because, money is something that can kind of escape us, our natural givers, because we're thinking about giving. We're not thinking about getting necessarily, but living on purpose and for profit, because you have to be able to figure out what, to maximize your life, I believe, to really why you were here. What were you meant to really do? What purpose were you meant to serve for? Your purpose. And then finally for profit, which is basically the money aspect, right? And money guides everything we do. A lot of money, a lot of choices, little money, little choices. No money, you know what it is, Chris?
No choices.
Not even no choices. Choices are chosen for you, is what I used to say. But those 3 things, again, the first is, paying it forward and beyond, embracing every race and every face. And the third is living on purpose and for a profit.
And the reason why I brought that up is because if you notice, and this is how I put it together too, is the 3 great eyes of leadership are in all 3 of those. Positive influence, massive impact, greater inspiration. Okay. When we express, say number 1 again, Jim. Say number 1 again.
The first is paying it forward.
Paying it forward. Thank you.
And beyond.
Paying it forward and beyond. So here's the thing. When our passion is driving us positively in influence, it's going to create a massive impact, which causes us to embrace every race for every face. Okay. And then the profit side of it, I know Jim talked about money, but understand there is this unfortunate great divide between impact and income. Okay. When really you need both. You need both. So when we're inspiring people, we're showing them the compassion that comes from the positive passion that we create. Now, this can be for leaders. This can be for parents. This can be for kids. I watch my son's passion for his sports, which is amazing. The kid loves sports. He's really good at it. But the compassion he has for his teammates and his opponents shines greater than any other example. And I missed his first game, and his coach actually got a hold of me and said, "Hey, man, I got to tell you, your son was getting after it. And he's not, this was in basketball. He's not the best basketball player. He's good. He wasn't the best. But the way he was treating people, the way he was encouraging his teammates, the way he encouraged the other team when they were losing like 31-1, I think it was, or 41-1, something like that, pretty bad. The way he was encouraging, he was the first one or one of the first ones off the bench to go congratulate the kid when he made his free throw, so they had 1 point. He's the first one to run over and help somebody up when they fall down, or if not, he's at least looking, going, everybody stop, stop, stop. So yes, he has a desire and a passion. That kid, I tell you what, I can't tell you how many times I've had to keep him from almost pushing his sister down the stairs because he's racing her. He likes winning. He's very passionate about winning. So I had to dial that part down a little bit. Like, listen, you have to be first by smashing someone's face in the wall. But
where is that come from?
Passion for helping others inspired other kids to be doing the same thing. And I wished more of us would take that example from kids who have not been been warped, who've not been through some of the hate and some of the things that Jim has seen and Mike has seen.
Mm-hmm.
If our passion, yes, I'm going to stay on that one a little bit more today, even though we talked about it last week. If our passion would be positively driven, embracing every race for every face out there, working together with one another, getting rid of the divide that's between us. We may not always agree, and that's okay, because there's different things I'm passionate about that Mike's not, different things that Jim's passionate about that I'm not. That's okay. But our compassion for one another, to support one another, to strengthen one another, to help one another, to be there for each other. If someone calls, said, man, dude, I need prayer. I need to hear a voice. Tell you what, change your tone. Show them how much you care. Don't tell them how much you care. Show them how much you care. I believe that's Maya Angelou, right? It is. Show them how much you care. People, you talk all you want. Start walking the walk and start showing some more compassion and or kindness for each other. You'll make yourself better before you even realize how much better you are. Mm-hmm. I know. Like Mike was self-admitting, I was not that compassionate person. I was very passionate about the things I did, but the way I always interacted through that passion became what I was compassionate about. And many times it was not positive. It was not happy. And it could have been. And it would have made it so much better. You want to be a true leader. Be true to yourself. Start getting kind to yourself. Because that was the biggest thing. How you communicate with yourself is how you communicate with others. I was not compassionate to myself. Now, I have other scars and other hurts because of other people. But at this age and stage of my life, it's time to take some ownership myself, right? Not just now, like I've been doing it for a while, but I'm coming full circle back to something Mike said. It's something he's had to learn to do. Or maybe we have to unlearn some behaviors. Yeah. I've definitely had to do that. Now, I'm not throwing Mike under the bus here, but both of them shook their heads yes. So I'm pretty sure I'm not in the corner alone here. But when you start to do self-work on this and start having compassion for yourself, change the voice that's in your head to positivity, telling yourself you're worthy, telling yourself you're kind, and start doing it. Start showing it to other people, holding the door open for people, going and helping somebody up. Someone drops something. Don't just yell, hey, you dropped this. See if you can get to it before they can and pick it up for them. You don't have to be an executive vice president to do that. You can just be a kind person. But I can tell you right now, if only one person does this, we may not change the world, but you could change the world or how that person views the world, even for just 1 minute. But when we all start to do it, the world changes and more leaders arise. That's what we want. That is true leadership. Jim, final thoughts from you. And we touched a little bit on GCC, so I would appreciate if you talk a little more about that, how people can get involved.
Yeah. Well, basically, you can go to zoomturtle.com every Wednesday at 12 noon PST. Go ahead and click on that, 12 noon at PST, and you'll find the meeting there, zoomturtle.com. But also, I wanted to give you a thought here. It's really good to have you sit back and reflect on this. Sometimes it's really interesting. I don't react immediately, which is good. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just the way I am. And even if somebody's really mean to me, I've learned, I think, in the course of time, I just thought, wow, I wonder what makes you so angry. It's really an honest response rather than just respond. Now, don't get me wrong. Just like the next guy, that's not my first natural instinct. I have to make a lot of decisions along the way to say, wait, what is it about this person that's making it that way? Of course, we have the knee jerks. If somebody says something mean to you, you just kind of want to get it back, or you feel hurt or take it personally. But then if you're able to take that moment, and I love that you've tied a word to it, compassion, have compassion on the person, find out, why is that person so angry? Why does a person react that way? Why is a person so stressed all the time? I think the world would be literally a better place. And I appreciate you putting on compassion. It helps give really good direction. Just have compassion on situations. If everyone did that, the world would change, and put a smile on their face as well. So thank you, Chris. Great subject here. We need to have compassion. I'm sold.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree. And it's the epitome of just if more of us would do it in the right way. And like I
Yeah.
said, Mike brought up something that just reminded me of things that I've had to do is learning it or maybe unlearning some bad habits. But the other thing too is go to those people that you look up to that help you, that
Mhm.
maybe there's two of them that are really tight in your inner circle, your personal junto. Okay, maybe it's a group junto, whatever it may be. That could be 5 to 7 people, and maybe you got a 10 to 12 that you guys meet, every so often. But just find different ways that you can start to become more compassionate and more comfortable with it. If you find yourself
Mhm.
uncomfortable with that, get uncomfortable being get uncomfortable with being compassionate, and you'll notice a change in yourself, and the people around you will too. Mr. True Man, Mr. Van Pelt, closing thoughts and some different ways we can connect with you too.
Yeah, showing compassion not only allows you to feel better, but it helps those around you feel better. And we had a great I didn't get to watch much NCAA basketball over the weekend, but a great example of that is the Kansas State head coach. I saw a clip where they lost the game. Now, there was a day I couldn't have done this for sure. They lose the game, and he walks into the opposing team's locker room and tells them what a great team they are and what a great job that they did.
Mm.
And I just thought that was awesome. And I'll say it to you this way. I look forward to the day when that's the norm versus the exception.
Yep.
And, I think that that's the purpose of having these conversations, is that we can talk about how we need to be more compassionate so that we can live better in this world, because it's just no fun being angry. But, yeah, you can reach out to me at Mike at truemanlifecoaching.com. You can check out my website at truemanlifecoaching.com. I actually think all the buttons may be working now, but if they're not, please. It's the
Email him
craziest.
and let him know. He'll
It's the
want to know.
craziest thing trying to build a website. Yeah, just let me know if something's not working. But yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Coach Tang, because being in Kansas, even though I'm going to say it, I'm a KU fan, I've become a huge fan of Coach Tang. And the reason why I bring that together and where my closing thoughts are in this is KU and K-State is a very heated rivalry. And it's something that has actually had some negative actions put to it. And at their home game, I'm not saying any one fan is better than the other, okay? But at Manhattan, at K-State's game against KU, there's a certain chant that rhymes with KU. I'm not going to say it on the show, but it was chanted. He was actually very, very, very upset about it. Now, it's something that's happened for a while, and it's become a cultural thing. And he was very outspoken. He said, I have nothing wrong with passionate fans and passionate students and passionate players. I love that. That's what drives the game. That's what makes us good. It's what makes us better. It's what makes us stronger. It's what makes people want to watch a game. I mean, you see a game where the players aren't very passionate about what they're doing, it's a pretty crummy game. And they exist. But he said, I'm good for that. But the compassion that this town has for people and the kindness that can exist here and how great this town is was not expressed last night. And I will not stand for it. I'm perfectly fine with passion. I'm not fine with people being angry and hateful to each other. And right then and there started this national thing of loving Coach. Everybody loves Coach Tang, and I do too, because he wants to see more people be compassionate, and he is a true leader, not in just the sense of the fact that he's the head coach of a nationally recognized program, but because he is stepping up and saying that the norm that exists right now, whether it be in sports, whether it be in life, whether it be in leadership, whether it be in organizations or even churches, the norm that may exist that is not shedding a positive light is actually tearing us down and causing things like what happened that night to happen. And it's just not acceptable. It's not. And I believe we need to step up and rise up to show a better way through love, which we will be talking about next week, through kindness, which we will be talking about next week, with a compassionate heart, and we show the desire and passion that we express for this change. My name is Chris Tice. You can reach me at eaglefireenrichment.com or chris@eaglefireenrichment.com is my email. Love to discuss this with you, especially if your culture is divided in your organization. If you're finding people that, yeah, they may be passionate, but their compassion is lacking, send me an email. I'd love to connect with you and help you with that. This is our time for today. I would love, 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 and be grateful for my two co-hosts, Mike Van Pelt, the True Man, host of the True Man podcast, and Jim T. Chong, super duper amazing publicist and walk star and MC. He's a great MC. Watched many of his events, and I've been at some of them. He does a great job. But until next week, go out and share some compassion and some kindness. Let's shed a more positive light on this world. Want everybody to have their best day ever by making every day great. Remember, you can't never did. God bless us all. We'll see you next time.